You two are on camera, I'm not. So, yeah.
What are you doing about that?
I've told you now. Say hi to people, hey? What's the comment?
Kirby Lake. Okay, better. Carry away. Now we need to carry me, carry away. Now we need to have me. And so the night is to cover you are. Know it before and you know it behind. Carry me life in this time as the imposter. Carry away. Never we need to carry me. Carry away. Never we need to carry me. It's the line, sing us it's alive. Always before and always behind. Carry me life in this time as the imposter. Carry me away. Never will you be too heavy. Carry me away. Never will you be too heavy, too
My father thought it was
It's going to take claws to stop pushing and being platform. Screaming kids. People screaming I like it. Yeah.
You might anyway, so
Yeah.
you just get it through.
Come on. That's not fair. I do love that. I love beans. You always just respond to a heckler by saying I'm on microphone or not. So whatever I say. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but everyone listens to you when I say that. I said that to someone the other day and just spoke to them.
I feel like Ken thinks it's a compliment, like they're passionate enough about performance that they want.
Well, he was giving her advice on how to beat me in chess. Yeah, you didn't need it, I know, but it's not the point. We're enjoying this though, like on camera, people can hear my disappointing voice and they can see these two just staring into space. You should just sit really still and people think you're just a screenshot. Who the fuck is that person talking?
Didn't want to heckle at you, but yeah.
Like I did. Yeah, I started my window today by climbing through the window because from the inside. Right, so we'll wake up there. This song's up tempo because it's all about feeling so down when you wake up you can't even get up. When you wake up, then it's a little bit take. It's gonna solve that problem. It's always round the corner and everything is wrecked. You might as well stay there when you wake up dead. When you wake up dead, that sounds not annoying. You only feel sorry that you can bother trying. You can't always get the men, the babies in the nest. But really is the better life when you wake up dead. Wake up dead. Let some shine creature in your head. Lay down, you. Give up, and all that you might be. When you wake up dead from the sky inside of you, the secret's going to twice and now it's all just you. Everyone's unhappy because of something that you've done. Everyone's a liar, and the biggest lie is fun. Wake up dead. Let some tiny creature in your head. Lay down, you. Give up, all that you might do. Dead, well, the city is gone. All the things take away, you see it all the floor. Let the world grab you, your time will all the time. It's gone, it's lost, it's gone, it's lost, but monorail on. Wake up dead, wake up cold. Wake up dead, wake up cold. Wake up knowing that long. Wake up knowing it's not going home. Wake up dead, wake up cold. Wake up dead, wake up cold. Wake up knowing and long. Wake up knowing it's not going home. It's not going home. It's not going home. So it's right position to try and go straight into medicine. I do, but I'm not going to be able to probably more, so like your high window, the dawn teacher moving all around them. There'll always be there. You tell me that I'm yours. Transactions entertaining. You made the right trip, falling in this time.
I'm scared, I wanna be in love.
So good about working on the page. When I get up on the table, and I'm keeping the other seats. When I picked up his white pencils and our skins all be on which show us the way, oh, show us the way. Show us the way, oh. Show us the way. 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 When the people you meet are all nothing but problems, when your friend reaches to speak, when you're tired as you die, the stages and files and the keyboards and letters speak. Show us the way, oh. Show us the way. Show us the way, oh. Show us the way. 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 Show us the Alright, I think we're going to take a break for a bit. I might even like speak on camera for this talk. So I don't really fucking understand. I just get fun now, it's probably the easiest. Sorry. Okay, they're at least on camera now. Alright, thank you everyone for listening so far. We will very shortly have our second performer on. And then Mr. Black will be back again, and then our poet will come back again for another set, and then after that, I'll go together. So if anyone would like to do anything, let us know right now. Rosie Bogumil will read for us. The second time. not this venue, but for this establishment, a previous venue. Yeah, so while Rosie is making her way out of the audience, you can't hear a raid. If anyone wants water, beer, whatever, food, coffee, let us know. Coffee is probably like one or two fresh grades. And otherwise, after her performance, we'll have probably a 10-minute break. And then speak now or but you should probably unless you want to see the camera for their performance as well.
Where exactly?
Don't need to see.
Oh yes. Yeah, I think that Rosie should use the mic.
Should I use the mic? I can
Yeah.
just shout.
Oh, yeah. If you can definitely be loud, that's fine. Just I want everyone to be here as well.
Yeah, I don't see.
You gonna use it?
So probably better sit.
Yeah, so that's it.
Get used to it.
Yeah, like right after this.
Well, after this, we'll do the
I got
That's okay.
As well as me standing right in front of the camera right now, I should point out to you that the microphone for broadcasting online is also built into this machine.
right.
So if you're talking here, it'll be like that.
Okay, so I could stand.
Oh, I meant more if you're talking. People will hear you. Which I don't mind that much, but you might not want your private conversation.
I can turn it up. Stand back. You don't just stand right on it. Why don't you say a few words?
Hello, I'm Rosie B. I'm the trigger warning walking, and we're reading some poetry for you tonight. I call myself a trigger warning walking, so I don't have to give every single poem a trigger warning every time I read. So I'll want some darkness from that trigger with some more darkness from me. I always open sets with the same poem, which might seem kind of strange, but I think it will make sense why I do that once I read it. So this is called By Way of Introduction. For the hunger crept in close. I didn't think of ribs with prizes. Missed periods were subtle surprises, and baggy clothes were for comfort, not disguises. Before the pain clasped my throat, I didn't think of my body as a grave. Destiny was a path which choices paved, and flesh was a temple to never desecrate. Before the world pushed me away, I didn't think of death as survival. Hearts were not fated for revival, and punishment was deserved, not reprisal. Before self-hate invaded my head, I didn't think of thighs as failure, limbs in not brave, the tickling razor, and weight was a minor character, not the radar. Before the light fled my life, I didn't think I was destroying myself. Sitting alone was the most pain I felt, and this story was not mine, but belonged to someone else. So yeah, it's not a very nice story, but I'm going to share some bits of it with you, which will be interesting. This is the story that I wish wasn't mine, but it is. Nobody ever told me that sharp objects like to sing. They neglected to mention the sensation of aversion commingled with addiction, even at that first bittersweet bite of stainless steel teeth. People seem to be grossly unaware of how gently scarlet roses caress, how blooming blood absolved old mess once blades first kissed broken flesh. I was carving stories, at best. Now I weave them instead. Nobody else had experienced sculpting with skin. Swiftly soared away to reveal more instant airflow. Sitting in lotus on the floor, shorts tracked closer to trauma, but I chose to ignore it until an unlikely informant, a blonde-headed boy of 8 or 10, said, "What happened there?" You don't know what I'm talking about by now. It's high time to figure it out because I'm sick of hiding behind subtleties, pretending metaphor masks reality. If, like me, you know what it means to bear a body of taboo, wearing marks apart from the pierced and tattooed, then you also know it is custom to carry ready-made responses for when curiosity surfaces. So, what happened there? Well, I was tackled by a bear. Forgetting I was dealing with a younger species of human, I offered this standard sarcastic response. But something in his eyes tore straight through my pride, and I murmured the truthful reply that sometimes I catch at my thighs, hiding pain with more pain since I'm broken inside. I found myself revealing that the only way of coping with what's coming is by hurting. Not it, he said. He had stitches then. It was nice to speak to someone that accepted, but I should not be rejected based on my own self-inflicted. There was so much more I wanted to say, but he was soon swept away by a parent ashamed that I would leave him astray with scars borne by blades. It's not my fault, I say. You made yourself afraid, and besides, I'm far braver than those who avert their gaze. So, same thing. Moving on to some heavier stuff. So, though I introduced myself as a trigger warning walking, it's mentions of like sexual assault. It's difficult for you, you might want to leave, I guess. So, this next piece is called Bonding Trauma. So, this next piece is called Bonding Trauma. It was at 16 I first knew this body didn't belong to me. It wasn't the shout of "you fucking you," or the ever popular "oi, give us a root," or some other sexist slur that did it. It wasn't the wolf whistles or the cat calls and my sister reminding me that this is all normal, a simple part of womanhood, she said. As we slowly grew older, and apparently not the wiser. I think it was the hand shoved so abruptly down my pants that finally did it. Or maybe the stroking of my ass as I walked street side on a Friday night, finally dressed to the nines for the first time in my tumultuous life. So at 18, the only time I have ever been clubbing, it was then I realized this body is not property, appropriated, and glamorized elsewhere. And at 19, held down on a hospital bed as if I needed more reason to seek death, I was again reminded that each and every breath, every shattered inhale, was owned by someone else. It never occurred to me there were only males that night, exercising their mighty right to diffuse my distress, and hands pressed firmly against my chest. Instead of listening while I resist arrest, why shouldn't I carve at this mess that meant left?
You're welcome anytime, bro.
And at 20, still hands were all I feel, the ones that stroked my jeans tenderly, the ones that grasped my limbs deliberately, the ones that let go finally as I broke my way free with a fist and a punch. Recently, I turned 21. And I've become the kind of Christian with seeds of doubt that God ever listens. Since I keep praying that men might grow less persistent and cease fondling trauma at a women's insistence. Okay, I got one more. Kind of continuing from the other one. The other poem is by this month, so story by Why shouldn't I carve at this mess that men left? Their fingers are so used to being told yes, and they are hardwired against learning how to hear no. Because no means no, except to most men, and then no means yes. In scene one, black bitumen glitters under moonlight, under streetlights, naively pale bodies foregrounded by the headlights, with a strobe of refuse scattered by the breeze. Broken glass dances at their feet, shimmers in their minds, not dancing, no, just drifting, ghosts. When beer spills down a bra, pre-loosened at the clasp, even though she only asked for over the clothes, all they hear is her no. She was too tipsy to remember slipping free of her underwear, but sober enough to softly sob no. Cops noted her only as drunk and disorderly, so no, there was nothing they could do, really. In scene two, a squirming body struggles against starlight beneath the city lights, despite the red and blue backlit night. We were taught that red and blue meant getting home safely until, held against the hood, we said no, while those in the blue heard death. Black, red, and blue bruises, but no wounds. She couldn't recall consenting to a strip search. Thirdly, with a yes. She was too drunk to remember what she had been drinking. She should have been more careful on something less revealing because, yes, this was her fault, nonetheless. Scene three, now languishing against the white bonnet dirtied with thoughts. She commits the number plate to memory but fails to record. Because why bother admitting that, yes, you were raped. But only then will those men hear the cries of women screaming and going.
Thanks very much, Rosie. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to take about a 10-minute break now, so I'm going to stop that video. But for anyone watching online, we will start again in about 10 minutes. Don't complain if it's more than 10 minutes, because no one will care. And you'll hear more music from Jenkins-Stocker-Aiken, which is us three, and also more poetry from Rosie. Indeed. And also at least one poem from a special guest poet as well. And I just wanted to make a special point of mentioning as well that I made reference to the Blue Nib earlier. I don't know if people heard me or not, but Rosie had previously read it at the original Garden Lounge, which was half a kilometre further up the road, and even less commercially oriented than this place, which was for the launch of the first issue of the Irish journal, the Blue Nib, that featured work from their Australian editor in Australia. Rosie was one of the first Australian poets. So I'm really pleased to have her back here for that. And also, it's worth noting that Blue Nib is currently looking for submissions, so any writers out there should get onto it because they still have their Australian editor at large. Anyway, I'll shut up now for 10 minutes, please.
Yeah.